Commander Vex 9 of the Zorlian High Council adjusted his three eye stalks in what could only be described as cosmic bewilderment. The emergency session had been called after receiving the most absurd report in their civilization's 12,000-year history. A human, a single ordinary human, had somehow managed to completely upend their most sacred cultural tradition without even knowing it existed. Let me get this straight. Vex 9 clicked his mandibles in frustration. This Earth creature named Marcus Webb saved Princess Kira 7 from drowning in the pools of eternal reflection, and now he's legally bound to marry her according to our ancient laws. Subcommander Lix 4 bobbed his gelatinous form nervously. That is correct, sir. The human acted purely on instinct when he saw her fall into the ceremonial waters during the diplomatic tour. He dove in immediately, pulled her to safety, performed what their species calls mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, and completely ignored our warnings about cultural protocols. Did anyone think to mention our marriage laws to the humans before the tour? Vex 9's voice dripped with sarcasm that could dissolve titanium. Well, sir, we assumed it was common knowledge across the galaxy that saving a Zorlian royal's life automatically triggers the bond of eternal gratitude ceremony. You assumed? Vex 9's eye stalks swiveled dangerously. You assumed a species that still thinks parking meters are advanced technology would understand our 10 millennia-old traditions? The holographic display flickered to life, showing the security footage from 3 days ago. Marcus Webb, a completely unremarkable human male with brown hair and the fashion sense of a space janitor, stood dripping wet next to Princess Kira 7. The princess, resplendent in her ceremonial robes now clinging uncomfortably to her humanoid form, was coughing up pool water while staring at her savior with something between gratitude and horror. Look at him. Vex 9 gestured wildly at the screen. He's wearing what appears to be fabric coverings with small pictures of Earth creatures called cats on them. This is who our most eligible princess is now legally bound to wed? Ugh. The audio from the recording crackled to life. Are you okay, miss? Marcus had asked, completely oblivious to the 30s Orlean nobles who had immediately dropped to their knees in the traditional pose of witnessing a marriage proposal. Ah yes, thank you, Princess Kira 7 had responded in perfect English, though her voice carried the melodic tones of her species. Good, good. Maybe next time put up some safety rails around these pools. Basic workplace safety, you know. Marcus had suggested helpfully, wringing pool water from his cat-themed shirt. Subcommander Lix 4 had tried to step forward at that moment. Woody, Sir Marcus Webb of Earth. By the ancient laws of our people, having saved the life of Princess Kira 7, you are now. Oh, don't worry about it. Marcus had interrupted with a wave of his hand. Anyone would have done the same thing. Just glad she's okay. Now, where's the bathroom? That pool water tasted like someone dissolved a chemistry set in it. The recording paused as Vex 9 rubbed his temples with 2 of his 6 arms. He asked for the bathroom. During his own engagement ceremony, the bathroom. It gets worse, sir. Lix 4 continued reluctantly. When we tried to explain the situation to him later, he laughed. He actually laughed and said, and I quote, "Nice try. But I've seen enough alien movies to know this is probably some weird cultural misunderstanding. Thanks for the tour, though." He thinks it's a movie plot. Vex 9's voice reached frequencies that made the nearby crystal formations vibrate sympathetically. Apparently, sir. He's currently in guest quarters 7, completely unaware that according to our laws, he's engaged to be married to our princess in exactly 72 Earth hours. Vex 9 pulled up Marcus's biographical data on his personal tablet. Let's see what kind of being we're dealing with. Marcus Webb, age 28, occupation, software engineer, specializes in something called debugging. Lives alone with 2 Earth creatures called cats named Pixel and Bite. His emergency contact is listed as his mother, who apparently still does his laundry. There's more, sir, Lix 4 said, his gelatinous form quivering with what might have been suppressed laughter. His psychological profile indicates he's never been married, rarely dates, and his longest relationship lasted 6 months before ending because, and I quote from the Earthwoman's statement, He cared more about his computer code than me. Perfect. Just perfect. Vex 9 began pacing, his multiple arms gesticulating wildly. Our princess, who has been courted by the finest nobles from 17 different star systems, and is now bound to marry a human, who talks to his computers more than other sentient beings. The display shifted to show Princess Kira 7 in her private chambers. Her usually perfect composure had cracked, and she was pacing much like Vex 9, though with considerably more grace and significantly fewer arms. What is the princess's position on this matter? Vex 9 asked, though he suspected he already knew the answer. She's conflicted, sir. On one hand, she's horrified at being bound to someone who asked if our sacred ceremonial pools had proper filtration systems. On the other hand, she admits the human showed remarkable bravery and selflessness. Also, and she finds his complete ignorance of protocol somehow refreshing after years of dealing with pompous suitors who know our customs better than she does. And legally, there's no way out of this? None, sir. The law of eternal gratitude has no exceptions. It was written during the Great War of the Seven Suns when such acts of heroism were rare and precious. The lawmakers never anticipated someone would accidentally invoke it while asking about bathroom facilities. Vex 9 sank into his command chair with a sound like deflating balloons. What does our cultural analysis team say about human marriage customs? That's where it gets interesting, sir. Lix 4 pulled up another file. Humans apparently have something called dating, where they spend time together to determine compatibility before marriage. They also have elaborate ceremonies, exchange metal rings, and promise to stay together until death. However, they also have something called divorce, which allows them to end marriages if they prove incompatible. Divorce? Vex 9's eye stalks perked up with interest. Yes, sir, though our laws don't recognize it. Once the bond of eternal gratitude is formed, it can only be dissolved by mutual agreement of both parties in front of the High Council, or by the death of one partner. So we need both the human and the princess to agree to dissolve the bond? Correct, sir. But there's a complication. Of course there is. Vex 9 muttered. What now? Now. The princess hasn't told him about the engagement yet. She's studying him. Studying him? She's been observing his behavior through the security monitors. Yesterday, she watched him spend 3 hours trying to help our maintenance staff fix a malfunctioning food dispenser, even though he had no idea how our technology works. He apparently told them, "Sometimes you just have to turn it off and turn it back on again," which somehow actually worked. And 2 hours ago, she watched him give half his meal rations to a junior custodial staff member who mentioned being hungry. When asked why, he said, "Where I come from, you don't let people go hungry if you can help it." Vex 9 processed this information with growing unease. The princess is developing feelings for the human. It appears so, sir. But the human remains completely oblivious. This morning, he asked one of our guards if the princess was some kind of important person, because everyone seems really nervous around her. When told she was royalty, he responded with, "Huh, cool. She seems nice, though. Very down-to-earth for a space princess. Down-to-earth. She's from a planet with 3 suns and sentient crystalline formations. I believe it's a human expression meaning approachable and humble, sir." The communication system chimed, indicating an incoming priority message. Vex 9 activated the display to see Princess Kira 7's personal aide, a nervous-looking being named Cukes 2. "Commander, we have a situation. The human has escaped his quarters." Escaped? Vex 9's voice rose to nearly ultrasonic levels. "How does someone escape guest quarters that aren't locked?" "He didn't know he wasn't supposed to leave, sir. He went for a walk to explore the station and is currently in the engineering section, where he somehow managed to improve the efficiency of our quantum processors by 18%. How?" Kay says, "He told Chief Engineer Tix 5 that our setup reminded him of a computer network from his world and suggested we optimize the bandwidth allocation. Chief Engineer Tix 5 says the human's suggestions are actually quite brilliant, despite his complete ignorance of quantum mechanics." Vex 9 stared at the display for a long moment. Get him back to his quarters. immediately and summoned Princess Kira 7. It's time we explain the situation to our unwitting groom before he accidentally reorganizes our entire civilization. Sir, there's one more thing, KX2 added hesitantly. What now? Dow. The human asked if we had coffee. When told we didn't know what that was, he offered to teach our food technicians how to make it. He said, and I quote, "No civilization should have to face the universe without good coffee. He's going to teach us how to make human beverages." He's already started, sir. Half the station is gathered in food preparation bay 3, watching him explain something called the perfect brew ratio. Chief Medical Officer Nix 8 has declared it a fascinating study in human chemistry. Vex 9 looked around the command center at his staff, all of whom were trying very hard not to find this situation amusing. 37 years I've commanded this station, 37 years of careful diplomacy, precise protocol, and flawless execution of interstellar relations. And it all falls apart because one human doesn't know when to mind his own business. To be fair, sir, Sub-Commander Lix 4 offered, drowning princesses are technically everyone's business. Don't. Just don't. Vex 9 activated the station-wide communication system. Attention, all personnel. Locate human Marcus Webb and escort him back to guest quarters 7. Use whatever means necessary, but do not, under any circumstances, let him near any more of our technology, food preparation areas, or staff members who might need advice. Sir, came a voice from the communications officer. He's now in Medical Bay 12. Dr. Nix 8 says the human noticed one of our medical scanners was making an unusual noise and fixed it with something he called a percussive maintenance technique. Percussive maintenance? He hit it with his hand, sir. It works perfectly now. Vex 9 closed all 3 eyes and counted to 10 in ancient Zorlian. When he opened them again, the chaos hadn't magically resolved itself. That's it. Emergency protocols are now in effect. I want Princess Kira 7 in Conference Room Alpha in 30 minutes. I want human Marcus Webb retrieved and brought there as well. And I want our best diplomatic team standing by to handle what I suspect will be the most awkward conversation in galactic history. What are you going to tell them, sir? Lix 4 asked. Vex 9's laugh contained no humor whatsoever. The truth. That a software engineer from Earth who thinks our advanced technology just needs to be turned off and on again is now legally bound to marry one of the most important political figures in our sector of the galaxy. And that somehow, despite being completely impossible, this might actually work out. Sir, look at the reports. Lix 4. In 3 days, this human has accidentally improved our engineering efficiency, fixed our medical equipment, started a cultural exchange program through coffee, and treated everyone from our princess to our janitors with equal respect and kindness. Either he's the most sophisticated spy in galactic history, or he's exactly what he appears to be, a decent person who helps others without expecting anything in return. And that's a problem. No, Vex 9 said thoughtfully, watching the security feed of Marcus Webb explaining coffee brewing techniques to a fascinated crowd of alien scientists. That might be exactly what our princess needs. But first, we have to tell him he's getting married in 3 days to someone he's met exactly once, and see if his brain can handle that without shutting down completely. The odds of him taking this well? About the same as our quantum processors running efficiently, Vex 9 replied, which, thanks to him, are apparently much better than we thought. Marcus Webb sat in Conference Room Alpha, sipping what he dubbed Zorlian Coffee Mark 1 from a specially fabricated mug. The beverage was 90% improvement over the station's previous liquid offerings, though it still tasted like someone had dissolved crayons in motor oil. He'd been told this was an important meeting about cultural exchange protocols, which sounded boring enough to be legitimate. So, yeah, he said cheerfully to the assembled crowd of increasingly nervous aliens. Are we talking about setting up some kind of pen-pal program between Earth and your planet? Because I've got to tell you, my mom would absolutely love writing letters to space people. She's big into genealogy and family trees, so she'd probably want to know how your whole eye stalk thing works genetically. Commander Vex 9 exchanged glances with his staff. A gesture that looked like a light show having a nervous breakdown. Mr. Webb, before we discuss future cultural exchanges, we need to address a current situation. Oh, is this about me fixing your stuff? Because I really didn't mean to overstep. It's just that when I see something making weird noises or working inefficiently, I can't help myself. My ex-girlfriend used to say I had a compulsive need to debug everything, including our relationship. Your ex-girlfriend sounds remarkably insightful, muttered Sub-Commander Lix 4. Yeah, she was smart. Also, she was right about the relationship thing. I did try to optimize our date schedule using a spreadsheet. In hindsight, that might have been a red flag. Princess Kira 7 entered the conference room at that moment, and Marcus immediately stood up. His mother had raised him with manners, even if they didn't always translate across species barriers. Oh hey, you're the lady from the pool incident. Feeling better? No lasting effects from the whole nearly drowning thing? I am well. Thank you, Princess Kira 7 replied, her voice carrying musical tones that made Marcus think of wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Though I fear there may be lasting effects you are not yet aware of. Like what? PTSD. Because I've got the number of a really good therapist back on Earth. Well, I mean, she's probably not licensed for interstellar counseling, but she helped me work through my fear of performance reviews, so she's pretty adaptable. Vex 9 activated a holographic display showing official-looking documents covered in swirling alien script. Mr. Webb, these are the laws of eternal gratitude, established approximately 10,000 Earth years ago during our civilization's formative period. Okay, cool. Very official-looking. I'm guessing this is about me helping out around the station? Because honestly, I was just being neighborly. Where I come from, you help when you can. The law states, Vex 9 continued with the tone of someone about to defuse a bomb, that any individual who saves the life of a member of the Zorlian royal family becomes bound to that person through the bond of eternal gratitude. That's nice. Like a friendship thing? Not exactly. Princess Kira 7 said softly. It is a matrimonial bond. Marcus blinked slowly, his brain processing this information like a computer trying to run advanced graphics on a calculator. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I think my universal translator might be glitching. You are engaged to be married to Princess Kira 7. Vex 9 said with all the enthusiasm of someone announcing a tax audit. The ceremony is scheduled for tomorrow at sunset, Zorlian Standard Time. The silence that followed could have been bottled and sold as a sleep aid. Marcus's coffee mug remained halfway to his lips, frozen in place like a statue dedicated to caffeinated confusion. I'm sorry, Marcus said finally, but I think there's been some kind of mistake. I just pulled someone out of a pool. That's not typically how engagement works in my species. Nevertheless, according to our laws, the bond has been formed, Vex 9 explained. It can only be dissolved by mutual agreement of both parties or by death. Well, that escalated quickly, Marcus said, finally setting down his coffee. So let me get this straight. I saved someone from drowning, which apparently counts as a marriage proposal in your culture, and now I'm engaged to marry a princess I've had exactly one conversation with? 2 conversations. Princess Kira 7 corrected. We are having one now. Right. 2 conversations, one of which was mostly me asking about bathroom locations, and the other is about accidental marriage. This is either the weirdest dream I've ever had, or I've somehow stumbled into the plot of a romantic comedy written by someone who's never actually met humans. Dr. Nix 8, the chief medical officer, leaned forward with scientific curiosity. How do humans typically form mating bonds? Well, usually it involves a lot more talking and dating and getting to know each other. Most people don't jump straight from nice to meet you to till death do us part. We have this crazy concept called compatibility testing. Compatibility testing? Princess Kira 7 asked, her tone suggesting genuine interest rather than royal protocol. Yeah, you know. Finding out if you like the same movies, if you can stand each other's cooking, whether you agree on important things like which way the toilet paper should hang, Basic stuff. Your species determines reproductive compatibility through bathroom tissue orientation. Dr. Nix 8 sounded fascinated. It's more complicated than that, Marcus said, running his hands through his hair. Look, I'm sure Princess Kira 7 is a lovely person. She seems smart, she's obviously important, and she has that whole regal bearing thing going on. But I don't know anything about her beyond the fact that she almost drowned in a ceremonial pool 3 days ago. What would you like to know? Princess Kira 7 asked. Marcus looked at her for a moment. Really looked at her this time. Her features were humanoid but refined in a way that suggested genetic optimization rather than natural evolution. Her eyes held intelligence and something that might have been loneliness. She carried herself with the posture of someone accustomed to being watched and judged. Basic stuff, I guess. What do you do for fun? What's your favorite color? Do you have any hobbies? Are you allergic to cats? Because I have 2 cats, and they're non-negotiable in any living arrangement. I enjoy studying xenobiology, she said, sounding uncertain. My favorite color is the shade of blue that Earth's oceans appear from space. I collect musical instruments from different worlds, though I rarely have time to play them, and I am not allergic to small Earth mammals. See? That's a start. You like science, you appreciate Earth's oceans, you're musical, and you won't go into anaphylactic shock around my pets. These are all positive signs. Vex 9 watched this exchange with the expression of someone witnessing either a miracle or a catastrophe in progress. Mr. Webb, are you saying you're willing to consider this arrangement? I'm saying that if I'm legally bound to marry someone, I'd like to at least have a conversation with them first. You know, crazy human concept. But maybe we could try this getting to know each other thing before we commit to eternal anything. Princess Kira 7's posture relaxed slightly. You would be willing to spend time with me before the ceremony? Well, yeah. I mean, we're apparently stuck with each other either way, right? Might as well figure out if we can stand being in the same room for extended periods. This is highly irregular, Vex 9 protested. Royal marriages are typically arranged based on political advantage and genetic compatibility, not personal preference. Good thing I'm not royal then, Marcus said cheerfully. I'm just a guy who writes computer code and has strong opinions about coffee preparation. My biggest political concern is whether the vending machine in my office building will ever be restocked with decent snacks. What are decent snacks? Princess Kira 7 asked. Oh, that's a great question. See, Earth has these things called cookies, which are like small sweet discs of happiness, and chips, which are thin slices of potato that have been fried until they achieve crispy perfection. And don't get me started on chocolate, which is basically proof that the universe wants humans to be happy. Dr. Nix 8 was taking notes. These foodstuffs serve no nutritional purpose beyond pleasure? Exactly. That's the beauty of it. Sometimes you eat things just because they taste good and make you feel better about existence. Revolutionary concept. I know. I would like to try these cookies, Princess Kira 7 said quietly. Well, that settles it then, Marcus said, standing up. Princess, would you like to have dinner with me tonight? I can't promise cookies, but I bet you're food technicians and I can figure out something edible. Maybe even enjoyable. You are asking me on a date? The princess sounded genuinely surprised. I'm asking my accidental fiancée if she'd like to have a meal together and see if we can have a normal conversation without a room full of officials taking notes. Baby steps toward not making this the most awkward marriage in galactic history. Vex 9 stood up abruptly. This is unprecedented. Royal courtship follows strict protocols designed to ensure political stability and genetic advancement. Commander, Marcus said, turning to face the clearly agitated alien. With all due respect, your protocols got us into this mess. Maybe it's time to try a different approach. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? We discover we're completely incompatible and mutually agree to dissolve the bond? Or, Princess Kira 7 said softly, we discover that your culture's approach to relationship formation has merit. The room fell silent again. This time, the silence carried possibility instead of just confusion. All right, Vex 9 said finally. his voice carrying the tone of someone who had given up fighting the inevitable. "Mr. Webb, you have 24 hours to conduct your human courtship rituals. If, at the end of that time, both parties agree to proceed, the ceremony will take place as scheduled. If not, we will petition the High Council for dissolution of the bond." "Do SciFi," Marcus said, extending his hand toward the princess. "Princess Kira 7, would you do me the honor of allowing me to show you how humans get to know each other?" She looked at his outstretched hand for a moment, then placed her own hand in his. Her skin was warm and slightly luminescent, like moonlight given form. "I would be honored, Marcus Webb of Earth, just Marcus. And I have to warn you, I'm probably going to ask you a lot of questions. It's a human thing. We're curious about everything." "I find myself curious about many things as well," she replied, "including how someone can accidentally become engaged while asking for bathroom directions." "Oh, that's easy. You just have to be spectacularly oblivious to local customs while having an overactive sense of civic duty. I've been perfecting the technique my whole life." As they left the conference room together, Vex 9 turned to his staff. "Are we witnessing the greatest diplomatic disaster in our history, or the most unlikely success story?" "Based on the efficiency improvements he's made to our station in 3 days, Subcommander Lix 4 replied. "I'm starting to think maybe our princess could do worse than a human who treats everyone with kindness and fixes things because he can't help himself. And if this works, then we'll have to rewrite our entire approach to interstellar relations. And probably invest heavily in coffee production facilities." Through the conference room's observation window, they could see Marcus and Princess Kira 7 walking down the corridor, engaged in animated conversation. The princess was laughing, a sound that hadn't been heard in the royal quarters for years. "You know," Vex 9 said thoughtfully, "maybe accidental engagement isn't the worst way to start a relationship. At least there's no pressure to impress anyone." "Sir, nothing," Lix 4. "Just thinking that sometimes the best solutions come from people who don't know they're solving problems. Now, let's figure out how to explain to the High Council that our most important diplomatic marriage might succeed precisely because both parties have no idea what they're doing." 24 hours later, as the twin sons of Zorlak 7 sat over the ceremonial grounds, Marcus Webb and Princess Kira 7 stood before the assembled court. They had spent their time talking, laughing, sharing stories, and discovering that accidental compatibility might be the most genuine kind. When asked if they consented to the bond of eternal gratitude, both answered yes, not because of law or tradition, but because sometimes the universe has a sense of humor, and occasionally its jokes turn out to be exactly what everyone needed. The wedding feast featured both traditional Zorlian delicacies and Marcus's attempt at chocolate chip cookies, which were declared a culinary revolution by the assembled guests. And somewhere in the back of the crowd, Commander Vex 9 raised his glass of coffee and toasted the power of human obstinacy to accidentally solve problems that centuries of careful diplomacy had failed to address. After all, sometimes the best way to save a drowning princess is to jump in without asking permission first.